All right, so to set up your table of contents, you're going to need a ruler and a pencil. And I get all my students to learn ruler skills. You would think it's the most basic thing in the world, but there's a lot of things about a ruler which are magical for the brain. It helps build fine motor skills to use a ruler, and it actually helps to relax students. So the very process of drawing the lines and creating the page is relaxing them before we even start the lesson, which is great. So the other thing about a ruler that's really cool is these holes in the middle are used to find the lines in between the lines. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. But I teach all of my students that skill because it's going to be really important. So we're creating our table of contents, and what it's going to look like, we're going to write table of contents up at the top. And if you see, I'm holding my pencil like that to trace along because it doesn't have to be very hard. I see a lot of my students pressing and then trying to get under there or doing this awkward thing, and that's okay too, you know. But if you're holding the ruler firmly enough, you'll just be able to trace along. This is a little bit harder for lefties. So I'm just going lightly along. You can see those fine motor skills kicking in. I'm going to set up my whole page. So I'm matching up the top of the ruler there. And tracing along the bottom. We are going to do a lot of ruler work in our workbooks. So you'll become an expert really soon. If your ruler moves, don't be afraid to erase the line and start over, but don't worry too much about it being perfect. Okay, remember how I said lines in between the lines? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see the halfway mark right in there, and then I'm gonna scooch this over, see the halfway mark right in there, and guess what? Now I'm gonna hold the ruler in the middle, boop, go on top, boop, and underneath. I'm gonna slide it down to the next big space. Line it up again, halfway, halfway. And keep going. And this is basically how we're going to set up most of our pages. So I won't repeat this over and over and over, which is why I'm going to set the book up so that you can just learn the lessons. So I just wanted to show you how we set up this page though. And I call this page the checklist for this unit. And this is our Pioneer unit. Checklist for ... because you could set up all your books this way. And this is the Pioneer unit. There we go. And there's a whole bunch of activities that we're going to do in this unit, and as you do them, you can use this section here to check them off, which is great. So the first thing we're going to do in this unit, if you want to write this down, we're going to do a title page for the Pioneers. That's going to be on the next page. And of course, one of our favorite activities, looking at the artifacts. If you can't see my writing, don't worry. I'm going to take a picture and it will be available. So we call this What's in the Chest. That's a really fun activity. Question mark. Next, we're going to do a writing activity. Write number 1. I think there's about 3 writing activities in this unit. And this one's called, so I use quotation marks, Ocean Voyage. Of course, because before they were pioneers, they had to hop on a boat to get over here. And then we're gonna do what's called a guided drawing. This is definitely one of my students' favorite activities. You're gonna love it. It's Pirates Cove. Pirates Cove. And I'm gonna put it in brackets, which means sort of an in-between thought. So it's mapping skills, just in case you're wondering what our theme is. Sometimes we do math skills. This is mapping skills for this one. You're gonna do a map of New France. It's gonna be awesome. So our next activity, we're gonna do an activity. And that's pretty much how this unit's gonna go. Activity number 1, so we do a write, a drawing, and an activity, and then we do another writing or reading activity, a drawing, and another activity. Sometimes we do 2 activities. So in this activity, we're going to build a log cabin. Because, of course, one of the very first things you did when you got to the new world is you built a log cabin. So we're gonna do that. But there's gonna be another activity in there. But first we'll do our write number 2, backwoods scholar, quotation marks, backwoods scholar. And we'll talk about what that means as well, and backwoods. And that's going to teach us how to measure the height of a tree. The height of a tree. But guess what? That's another activity. There are so many activities in project-based learning. It's awesome. So I hope you have a measuring tape. You're gonna need it for that. It's gonna be a blast. Next, we're gonna do, so we go back and we do our writing. We do the height of a tree, and we build our log cabin. We're gonna use all of these things in one lesson. We'll go back and forth. And then we're gonna do an active listening. Active listening. And I'm really big on active listening skills. And those are things like highlighting or doodling, underlining, using colors. So our active listening is going to be building the new house. That's going to give us some tips. Building the new house. And then we are going to do another activity. So in this activity, we're going to measure the circumference of a tree. Because maybe you know how high the tree is, but that doesn't mean that it's thick enough for the wood that we need for the log cabin. So this activity might come after all this, but we're gonna get all our materials ready to go and have a plan, and then we're gonna learn how they did it in Pioneer Days. And so then we're gonna do another, a guided drawing. We're gonna do a guided drawing. So a guided drawing, like Pirates Cove, in this one, we're gonna set it up like Pirates Cove, but it's gonna be a little bit different. And it's the Pioneer homestead, or farmstead. The Pioneer farmstead. So we have a map of where we're going, and then we're gonna build a cabin, and then we're gonna draw a picture of our amazing farm that we built, that we're building. Might take you a year to build in the real world. And of course, because we're super proud of ourselves, we have to write a letter back to the people where we came from. Maybe we came from England or Ireland or Scotland. Maybe we came from France or Germany. My ancestors came from all over Europe, but one of the ones that I traced back was from Norway. So I would write a letter back to Norway, letting everyone know how I'm doing. Okay, now we're gonna do another activity, of course. And this one is drying apples or apple chips or baking bread. You can do both or one or the other. Baking bread. And then we're gonna do another writing activity. Oops. Right, number 4. And this one's great. This is the Ocean Voyage, and this one here called Journey Through the Woods are both written by Catherine Parr-Jones, who came to Canada in 1834. And she wrote a really, really detailed account of everything that happened on her journey. And what she writes when she talks about the journey on the roads will make you wish you would never go back in time and drive on those roads. She was really upset about it. And then we're gonna finish up all of our activities. We're just gonna do a final getting ready for our presentation of learning. So, getting ready for our presentation of learning. To show everyone how we set up our pioneer homestead and a self-assessment. But if you want some more, then I have some bonus activities. So I'm gonna write bonus here, and that'll be a different video. You can add a different table of contents for those, but that's a lot of activities. So get your table of contents all set up, and then we'll begin our first activity, the title page.